Hello, mathematicians. Today we're going to be learning about standard form. Standard form is another form that we could use to represent linear equations. The equation to standard form is ax plus by is equal to c, where a and b are coefficients and c is a constant. So here we have a, b, and c. And we know that a, b are coefficients and c is a constant. But in standard form, all three, so a, b, and c, are all integers. A and b cannot both be 0. So one of them could be 0, but not both. Because if we had, so for example, if we had 0x plus 0y is equal to 5, that would be 0 is equal to 5, and that would not be true. So a and b cannot both be equal to 0. And if there is a greatest common factor among a, b, and c other than 1, then we simplify. The term ax cannot be negative, and c is a constraint. And what I mean by c is a constraint is that whatever we get for ax plus by, that's going to equal c, and therefore it's not going to be less than or greater than c, it's going to equal exactly c. Okay? So this is a lot to take in, but we'll do a few examples to make it a little bit easier. So first things first, when writing in standard form, we have to make sure that it is in order. So here we have our equation, ax plus by is equal to c. So in standard form, it has to be in this order. So our example here, you'll notice that it is not in that order. And if we see here, we have 4 plus 3x is equal to y. You'll notice that our 3x is in fact on the left side of the equation. However, it is not our first term, and it has to be. So we could use the commutative property of addition to swap these two. And basically what that means is because it's addition and they're both on the same side of the equation, I could swap these two without changing their sign. So instead of 4 plus 3x, I'll have 3x plus 4. And then that'll still be equal to y. Okay, so now I have 3x as my first term. And now my second term is our coefficient and our variable y. So you'll notice that that's actually on the right side of the equation. So I'm going to have to use the inverse operation to get it on the left side. And because it's positive, I'll have to subtract both sides by y if I want to get it on the left side. And so there are no like terms right now, so I'm just going to rewrite what I have. So I have 3x plus 4 minus y is equal to 0. And now, since I have 3x plus 4 minus y is equal to 0, you'll notice that I have 3 terms on the left side. I have my 3x and I have my negative y. It's not in order. I could rearrange the order now or do it after. So for example, I could write it as 3x minus y plus 4 is equal to 0. But you don't have to do that step because essentially we want to get rid of that plus 4 and bring it over to the right side because the only terms we want on the left side are our x's and our y's. So in order to get rid of this plus 4, this positive 4, we do have to use the inverse operation and subtract both sides by 4. And so the 3x minus y remains untouched. This cancels out, and I'm left with 3x minus y is equal to negative 4. And I'm going to rewrite that a little bit bigger. So I had 3x minus y is equal to negative 4. And you'll see here that the a in this case Our coefficient to x is 3. And so we have minus y, which we know that the coefficient there, even though it's not written out, is -1. You don't have to write out the -1, only if you want to. So -1y is equal to, and our c is -4. Okay, so this is in standard form. So just make sure that it's in order. So another thing we have to keep in mind is we have to make sure that a must be positive. So before I do get to that, remember back when we had to make sure it was in order? Just by looking at this equation, it's not in order. So before we do anything with a, just make sure that our terms are where they're supposed to be for standard form. So I have -5x is equal to -2y minus 4. And the -5x should be the first term because ax is my first term, but that's it. That's all that we have on the left side. So our second term on the left side should be by, which should be right here, our -2y. So we have to get this on the left side. So in order to get rid of this on the right side of my equation, I have to do the inverse operation, which is to add 2y on both sides. And again, these are not like terms, so I'm just going to rewrite them. I know that my term -5x goes first because that's ax. So -5x, and then I'll write plus 2y equals, and now this cancels out, -4. So here I have -5x plus 2y is equal to -4. And this is in the correct order. However, a is not positive. So because I have a -5 here, in order to make it positive, I could do a few things. So I could either multiply everything by -1, or I could divide everything by -1. And that would give me the same thing. So if I multiply by -1 to make this positive, remember that I have to do the same thing to everything. Okay, so I can't just multiply the term -5x by -1. I have to multiply everything by -1. So -1 times -5 is positive 5x. -1 times 2y is -2y. And -1 times -4 is positive 4. And here I have our equation in standard form. So in standard form, we have 5x minus 2y is equal to 4. And so here we have our a, which is 5x. Our b is -2y. And then, so our b is just -2, and then we have y. And then it's equal to 4, which is c. All right, so another thing to remember about standard form is that a, b, and c must be integers. So here I have ax plus by is equal to c. First thing is that they're not in order, so I do have to get that in order. So I have my ax term here, and my by term is on the right side. So in order to move this over, I do have to add both sides by 5y. I'm sorry, add both sides by 5/6y. And so now on the left side, I have -2/9 x plus 5/6y is equal to -4. And so what we're going to have to do here is I have two fractions, and I need to make sure that we have integers. So if I look at the 9 and the 6, I could take my two denominators, list out their multiples. So I have 9, 18, 27, 6, 12, 18, and find my my least common multiple, which is 18. And so if I multiplied everything by 18, then I would no longer have fractions. So don't forget that you have to multiply everything by 18, not just their first term. So 18 times negative 2 over 9 is negative 36 over 9, x plus negative 18 times 5 over 6. So remember, it's 18 times 5, and we get 90 over 6, y, and then we have negative 4 times 18, which is negative 72. And now we'll simplify it. So negative 36 divided by 9 is equal to negative 4. X plus 90 divided by 6 is equal to 15. So plus 15y is equal to negative 72, because that's not being divided by anything. And so here we have negative 4x plus 15y is equal to negative 72. The order is correct. I don't have fractions. All I have is integers. However, the only thing that we need to fix is that our leading coefficient here for a is negative. So we do have to make sure that that's positive, and in order to do so, I could either multiply or divide everything by negative 1. So negative 1 times negative 4 is 4. Negative 1 times 15 is negative 15, or minus 15. Y is equal to negative 72. So this is our equation in standard form. So 4x minus 15y is equal to, negative 1 times negative 72 is actually positive 72. So that should be a positive 72. So our equation in standard form is 4x minus 15y is equal to 72. Where 4 is A, negative 15 is B, and 72 is C. And that's it for that. All right, and finally we have to simplify if A, B, and C have a greatest common factor other than 1. So if I look at this equation, it's not in the correct order for standard form, so I have to rearrange it so that it is. So negative 8x is correct when it's first, and then I need my term with y. So I'm going to add 20y because that's the inverse operation. And so I have negative 8x plus 20y This cancels out, is equal to negative 16. Remember that a cannot be negative, so we have to multiply everything by negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 8 is 8x. Negative 1 times positive 20 is negative 20y. And negative 1 times negative 16 is positive 16. So here I have 8x minus 20y is equal to 16. And so it is in the correct order. A is not negative, and A, B, and C are all integers. However, if you look at A, B, and C, A is 8, B is negative 20, and C is 16. And they do have a greatest common factor other than 1, which is 4. So I do have to divide all these terms by 4. So 8 divided by 4 is 2x. Negative 20 divided by 4 is negative 5y. And 16 divided by 4 is 4. So here we have 2x minus 5y is equal to 4, where a is 2, b is negative 5, and c is equal to 4. And that's it.